Hi, my name is Tammy Morris, and I am a um, person who was diagnosed with trigeminal neuralgia in 2009. And in 2011, 2012, it went into remission, although I thought I was healed by the Lord because it went away so abruptly during a church service where hands were laid on me in prayer and anointing for the sick. Anyway, it went away and it resurged with a vengeance May Memorial Day weekend of 2020. So I call it May of 20 COVID. Um, that being said, I want to document my story so that others who are diagnosed with this disease or glossopharyngeal neuralgia, and I'll get to why I'm going to talk about that too later on, but I want to document my story to maybe help others who are newly diagnosed or searching for answers. Please don't hear me as implying that I have all the answers, but sometimes we can find our answers in listening to other people's stories, or at least get a track or a train of thought that will help us get to the treatment, the care, and the answers that God wants for us. So the resurgence happened with vengeance, as I said, in May of 2020. And when it did, it came back um, more vicious, more severe, than I ever remembered it. Now, my experience, my presentation, if you will, is when I'm going to experience a trigeminal neuralgia attack, which for those of you who have this type of neuralgia, um, this might make sense to you, and this might help others who are newly diagnosed explain what they're going through to their doctors, their pain management person, their neurosurgeon. So sometimes I have bouts of pain, episodes of pain, and attacks. So a bout of pain, a trigeminal pain for me is on both sides. It starts on my left hand, it goes up my left arm, goes into my face, and travels across. Now, the pain that I feel is like dull ear pain, jaw pain, teeth pain, sometimes even sinus pressure. So that's about, and it's annoying and it hurts, but it's kind of like a sore back after a long day of hard work. You can tolerate it. It's not going to interfere with your life, but you might grunt and groan a little bit. An episode is where the pain is intensified. So we go from a level, I say like, so about is like 1 to 3, 1 to 4 on the pain scale for me. An episode is like a 4 to 8. So it's painful, it's interrupting, it's disruptive. It will make me stop or slow down talking. Um, the pain in my left arm is more severe and more constant. So it's not just a starter pain. It stays. And so it's the left arm, it's the shoulder, it's the neck, it's the ears, again, it's the teeth, it's the jaw itself, the tongue, the throat, the larynx, right here. Adam's apple on guys. I don't know what that's called on girls. Maybe Eve's apple. I'm sorry. And then my chest, my upper chest. So that's how it's presented for me. And then an attack is ab- above 8 and up to 100. So 8 to 100. And I know that sounds dramatic, but it's not. If you've ever suffered a trigeminal neuralgia or glossopharyngeal neuralgia attack, you will agree with me when I say your world stops. It comes to a complete standstill. Um, I get on my knees. I have to get on the floor. I have to try to control my breathing. I literally despair of life. That's how severe the pain is. It feels like someone has my tongue in a grip, one of those torture grips that's meant to quarter people. It feels like that. My chest is so tight and it hurts so bad. and my jaw literally feels like it and the teeth in it are being ripped out. Um, it's in my ears. I cannot stand even the quietest of sounds, so much that even my cries are excruciating. And to be honest, of course I'm going to be honest, to be more transparent, um, I could not have gotten through that without the Lord. I would have committed suicide, period. Um, so we have bouts, episodes, and attacks. And when when the disease came out of remission in May of 2020, I went from being on zero meds except having pain meds when I had bouts, because I did have bouts in those years where it went into remission, but um, they weren't awful. Uh, but that said, so I went. I'm sorry. When I came out of remission and the pain came back, I was at full blown attacks. I wasn't at bouts or episodes. It was full blown attacks. And immediately I reached out to my neurologist. He put me on Lyrica. And then within a couple of weeks, I was on more Lyrica. And then I was on gabapentin. Now, this is all in a couple of months. Then I'm having gamma knife radiation surgery because it's so bad. I can't stand it. And I was never willing to do that before. I was never willing to have any type of invasive procedure. Now I would do anything. I would stand on top of the Statue of Liberty and jump if they told me to, if that would heal me, if that would stop the pain. Um, I had gamma knife radiation surgery at Hershey Hospital, and it did not help me. It actually made me worse. And during that period from July to October of 2020 is where the Lord revealed to me that I had glossopharyngeal neuralgia as well. Sometimes TN can be misdiagnosed for GN and vice versa. And sometimes, folks, people just have both. And I was one of those people. And it was not known from 2009 until October of 2020. So, I was on 4,000 milligrams of gabapentin a day, and whatever the max dose, 600 milligrams of Lyrica a day. I was put on blood pressure medicine. I was put on, what else was I put on? Blood pressure medicine. I should probably look at my I don't even know what I was put on. I was put on so much. My blood pressure would go up to 268 over 90, 140, 160. I mean, every day, multiple times a day. And that's with this medicine. With all of this medicine, I'm still having 15 to 20 attacks a day. And at that time, my the attacks, they say in all the literature that these attacks last for several seconds to a couple of minutes. Mine were lasting 45 minutes. Unrelenting, devastating, crushing pain. And I'm telling you, it's the love of my family and my God that got me through this. I continued to work, albeit not as much, but I did. I was in the middle of the two largest projects ever in the organization's history at the time. We had almost tripled our staff in just a in COVID, like all this stuff is happening. And I would never do this again, but I felt like I couldn't walk away from those projects because my staff at that time were not ready to take over. It wasn't that they couldn't be competent. It wasn't that they weren't excellent. It was that I hadn't prepared them to be able to take over in my absence. That was my goal, but I hadn't gotten there yet. I believe a good leader leads by making themselves able to disappear and the wheels keep moving. I mean, that's a sign of a really good leader. And while there was some of that, and the team did a really good job. I mean, they did, but I didn't feel like I could leave. And that was a horrible feeling. And I'm not blaming them. That was on me. I should have just said to the board of directors, I cannot do this. I need to take a medical leave of absence. And I didn't. And I will never do that again. If I ever get to where I was then again, that's it. Family FMLA, here I come. So, that being said, the Lord revealed to me that I also had glossopharyngeal neuralgia. So, trigeminal neuralgia affects the fifth cranial nerve. Glossopharyngeal has a cluster of 9, 10, and 11. And a normal MRI was inconclusive. A Fiesta MRI, which is high cost and high resolution, showed all kinds of stuff going on there. The pica artery adhered to the ninth cranial nerve. Pica artery is one of the arteries that supplies blood to the brain. The trigeminal nerve and rootlets and offending veins and just all kinds of stuff. They found it. And so in the middle of October, after we had completed, sorry, there was a bug. After we completed one of the projects, I took a leave. I took a 2 week or 2 or 3 week leave from my job to get a handle on this. I knew I wasn't going to be able to function any longer the way I was functioning. And so I cried out to the Lord and I said, I don't know what to do and I need you to help me. And that's when the Lord revealed to me that the neurosurgeon that I wanted, because I was considering MVD, microvascular decompression, look it up. But the doctor that I wanted was in Maryland at Johns Hopkins, and I couldn't get to him. All I could get to were his associates. And I'm sorry. I was told he was the best. He was who I wanted, not the students he was teaching. No offense, guys and gals, but I don't want to be your crash test dummy. And so during this time, I found out, I think it was early November. This is when I learned that I had glossoneuralgia. This is when I found out that this doctor was transferred to Stanford. He took a position at Stanford University Hospital and became chief of neurosurgery. That doctor is Dr. Michael Lim. And so, in my mind, while God was working in Dr. Lim's career, to me, God moved Dr. Lim cross country. Now I could get to him. And I reached out via their messaging app online, and within hours, they got back to me. I told them my story. There's a lot that I'm leaving out here, and I'll go over in subsequent videos where I get into more detail about each phase of this journey for me. But just suffice it to say that I shared what happened to me and some of the awful things that happened within the healthcare system. Um, and they immediately had compassion and said that they wanted to help me and they took me on as a patient. Um, Things moved very quickly from November to January 5th. Um, they told me that I was a candidate for brain surgery. They told me that they found why I was suffering the way I was suffering because of the MRI. They were able to see some of it, and there might be more when they got in there. And so we began the process of making sure that I was fit for surgery. At the time, I was 49 years old, and my family doctor said, I'm not going to sign off on surgery for you until we get all systems checked. And so we started this process of getting my heart checked, my lungs checked, what else did they check? I guess that's it, right? I don't know. They did so many tests. I got stuck so many times. Um, but anyway, through this process, we found out that I had probably what you'd call like a widowmaker. So in an artery of my heart, it doglegged, and there was a significant blockage there, almost complete blockage. And my cardiologist, whom I had never had one before, but I got one because of this, said to me, we have to do something about this. You need to be stented. And so he said, but, it's what's going to kill you first. We had to make a decision. What do I do first? Do I do the stents and then have to wait 6 months till I can get off blood thinners? Because you cannot do brain surgery when you're on blood thinners. Or do I have the brain surgery first? And then once I recover from that sufficiently, then I go and have the stents placed locally. So my cardiologist, my pulmonologist, my primary doctor, and my neurologist all cleared me for surgery with bated breath, because of the heart thing. But we had to make a decision, and that's what doctors do. Sometimes they make the tough decisions, and they made the right decision. So my husband and I traveled to Palo Alto, California, and on January 11th, I was dropped off at Stanford University Hospital because of COVID protocols. My husband was not allowed to go in with me, so I went in alone, and I had microvascular decompression surgery, and I was released 27 or 28 hours later. I did not go to the ICU. I went straight to a room, and they said I did so well I didn't need to. I was it that? Was it? Or was it that your ICU was full? I don't know. Um, it felt like they made an exception for me because the COVID cases were pretty high. And the fact that they let me come in, even though I tested negative for COVID, um, they let this surgery, which they didn't consider, meaning the hospital didn't consider life threatening. And at that time, they were only doing life threatening surgeries because of COVID. But my doctor fought for me. Dr. Lim fought for me and showed them why this was life critical. This was a lifeline for me, and all the things that could happen if this surgery did not take place at that time. So time was not on our side. But uh, the the um, the surgery was done. I have to tell you, Stanford University Hospital has fantastic food. I mean, made to order. I ate so much food while they let me be in there. It wasn't even funny. And I was probably stoned from all the drugs they were giving me, too, quite honestly. I felt pressure. I didn't feel a lot of pain. I didn't feel any of the neuralgia, the trigeminal or the gloss. So I felt none of that. The thing that annoyed me most was they had a catheter in me, and every time I tried to get out of the bed, the alarm went off. So, I got busted. I was trying to break free and go to the bathroom on my own, and they didn't want me to do that because I just had brain surgery. So I'm probably not the best patient, but I had amazing nurses. And when they released me into the care of my husband, we stayed at a local Airbnb, and God led us to this amazing woman who owns this house. She gave it to us at like half off or something. I think it was $10,000 for the 10 or 11 days that we were going to be there. And she cut it down to like four. I mean, she heard our story and just, I guess, considered me a tithe, if you will. So we stayed there. Sean took excellent care of me. And then we flew home. I don't remember when we flew home. Uh, I don't know, 10 or 11 days later. They said that I couldn't fly until they were convinced that the bone cement that created the plug in my skull, because they hold out about a 50, a little bigger than a 50-cent piece, um, window in my skull so they could get to my brain, and they couldn't fill that back in with that because it crumbled. So they had to make a bone cement plug. They didn't want me to pop my plug, people, in the brain, in the plane, in my brain from the plane, 20,000 feet up. So when we were released, we came home and had, no issues with the flight, although taking a flight after brain surgery wasn't exactly comfortable. But the crew on American Airlines was fantastic. I think that was the flight, or I think that was the airlines we used. They were fantastic and just really went out of their way to make sure that I was as comfortable as possible. So I returned home and I started the process of recovering at home. And I can tell you those first couple of weeks, if I didn't have pictures of them, I probably wouldn't remember them. Not that I was on heavy medications, I was not. I was actually coming off of the gabapentin. Um, and I got rid of that pretty quickly. But and I didn't feel any pain. I did not feel any of the neuralgia pain. So from my perspective, the surgery was a success. And in late February, mid to late February, I tried to return to work remotely, and I found out pretty quickly that I was not ready. My type A personality sometimes has unrealistic expectations. And so I ended up leaving that job. And that job was while I while I had done everything God asked me to do, I didn't really think I was ready to put a bow on it. But it was time, and God made it very clear that that's what He wanted me to do. I knew it, and then He made it clear, and He confirmed it for me. So my husband and I decided that I was going to spend the rest of the year recovering. I mean, this was brain surgery. And, you know, all surgeries are serious and important, but this one was going to take extra time to recover from. And some people, the window, depending upon which doctor you talk to, is anywhere from 18 to 24 months. Um, so, so I was, adjusting to life not working and figuring that out and trying to heal. And it was a strange time for so many of us. COVID was running rampant, and we were trying to learn about masks and whether to vaccinate or not vaccinate. And I was not going to get the vaccination. There was no way, not with just having brain surgery and them not knowing, meaning the ones who created it, not having long enough studies to know how it would affect someone like me. There was no way I was putting that stuff in my body, and there was no way you were going to force me. So I am all for the vaccine, just as a public service announcement. If you want to jab yourself, go ahead, but you can't tell me that I have to. So I did not, and that's okay. And it wasn't a major theme in my life, but there was so much going on, and I was trying to adjust to all of it. And then my husband was laid off. 2 weeks after I left my job, he was laid off. And so um, now my husband was home, and my youngest son was home because he wasn't in physical school, he was in cyber school. Um, yeah, I mean, there was a lot going on. So it wasn't just brain surgery. All right. So um, it took time for me to really feel like I was with it mentally, really with it mentally. And but I did, and I have. And there were a lot of things that happened at that time where, God was just super faithful to me. And, He was speaking very clearly to me. And I was so relieved that I wasn't having the neuralgia attacks anymore. And so, to some degree, life was kind of returning to normal. But I did have a couple things to contend with that were consequences of these diseases and the brain surgery recovery. Um, the two things are my left leg is mad. Like whenever I try to walk too fast, it starts to hurt. And then if I keep walking, it will just stop working. I'm getting ready to see a physiatrist in a couple of weeks because time has not worked this out. And then the other thing is I gained 60 pounds. That's not uncommon for people who take gabapentin, carbamazepine, Tegretol, Lyrica, all of these central nervous system anti-seizure meds uh, really can pack on the pounds. And so I packed on almost 60 pounds. And that is hard to carry around. And I'm saying this in the like utmost love and respect, but I had it hard enough. I didn't need to be fat too. And if you've not been fat and then you become overweight, severely overweight, you know exactly what I'm talking about. The pressure on your body, all of it. There's so much psychologically and physically that comes with being obese. And I never have been. Not that I haven't been a chunky monkey, because I have, but never like this. And it is awful. I mean, I'm not even going to go into it. So, for those of you who have struggled with your weight your whole life, if I ever judged you in any way, even in my inside voice, which I know I did, I am so sorry. Being obese is awful. Now, if you choose to be obese and you want to flaunt it and you just call yourself thick and you ain't got a problem with it, this message is not for you. I don't care. But if you are obese and you're struggling with it, I want you to know I feel you. I get it. And it's awful. It's awful. I don't know any other way to explain it. Okay. Um, so I ended up returning to work to this job that God gave me. And I'm going to tell that story because it's beautiful and wonderful and deserves its own attention in another video in this series. But I returned to work. God gave me a job and I did that in September. Now in September when I returned, I started to experience pain again. And it would be if I would try to walk too fast or walk upstairs or got stressed or like it, but it wasn't an attack. It was an episode. So it wasn't about it was an episode. It was right in the middle. Still hurt, still rocked my world, but didn't bring me to my knees. And I could function with it. And I reached out to Dr. Lim. I thought I was terrified. I thought, oh my gosh, this is coming back. And he so he subscribed. He subscribed a course of steroids, thinking that there's inflammation, and wanted to test that theory and see if I could get some relief. And it resolved on its own, and nothing happened. Um, then uh, just last weekend, it is so just last weekend, and it is oh gosh, I can't see. So it's June 10th, 2022. So just in the past 5 days or so, I began to have attacks again. My blood pressure has gone up to 229 over 94. The pain is excruciating. I again, when I'm in the middle of those attacks, I despair of even life itself. And I'm not suicidal, and I don't want to die. But these diseases have been coined the suicide disease for a reason. There is no cure, there are only treatments. And prescriptions, medicine is refractory. So this is a really serious deal. And there are other serious pain issues, and diseases and disorders. And I'm not saying this is the only one. This is the only one I have, or the only two. So go big or go home, get two neuralgias, right? Um, but they've been full on attacks and they've been devastating. And I cried out to God and I said, I don't get it. Almost like Jesus, why have you forsaken me? That's how it feels in that moment. Even though I know the presence of God is palpable and mighty and strong, and He's there. He never leaves, He never forsakes. And I know that. But this is testing of my faith. And while I'm going through this again, it's not the first time and it's not like before because I'm not the same person. But, I did reach out to Dr. Lim and he wants to start an aggressive course of steroids again and see if it'll work, see if it'll help. I don't know if it's going to. I believe, uh, oh, it's my puppy. He wants to come in. Um, but I believe I just need to take this one day at a time. And with my family and my friends and God, I'm going to get through it. So, I want to thank you. Not yet, buddy. I want to thank you for listening to this story. I know I skimmed over a lot of the details, but I'm going to do several segments on. Uh, I'm sorry, I'm losing my train of thought. I'm getting tired. I'm going to do several videos that will focus on more of the details about some of the components and things that I went through. So I'm going to talk more about the job and what happened with that. I'm going to talk more about how the disease progressed in pain from June of 2020 till January of 2021. I'm going to talk about the recovery a little bit more. So I'm going to go into more depth in future videos, but I just wanted you to have the overall picture. I am still working full time. I do still have a busy home life. There's a lot I can't do physically right now because any kind of pressure to my body is causing these attacks right now. Um, my attacks, they last like 10 minutes right now. They used to last 45, but the longest one is 10, 12 minutes right now. I am on Lyrica and I'm taking these steroids. So we'll see what happens. But to end this video, I don't know how to end it well, except to say that if you are afflicted with ON, TN, GN, HN, any of the neuralgias, I want you to know that you're not alone. And I want you to know that there's hope and there's help and there's a community of people that will love you and surround you and support you in this journey that is uncertain and painful, but also beautiful at the same time. There's a group on Facebook, a couple of them that I've become a part of as a result of going through this, because one of the things that I identified was that I felt really lonely. Nobody around me understood what I was going through. They could have compassion, they could try to empathize, but nobody really knew. And I felt alone in my suffering. And so I started searching and I found some Facebook groups that have amazing people in them. And I'm so grateful for the encouragement and support that they've brought me, and hopefully that I've brought them too. So there is hope. You are not alone. Um, and I'm hoping that some of my subsequent videos, if not this one, will help you. And if you have any questions, please feel free to ask them. I might not cover something, but by you asking a question, it will trigger that in my mind. And then hopefully I can give you some information that will be helpful to you. I do want to say in closing also that one of the things that I've struggled with as a result of taking those medicines is my memory is shot. Like I used to be an elephant. I used to remember everything, and it's not good. I'm hoping that with time and as my brain chemicals normalize, which can take a really long time, that I'll get some of that back. But my point to that is to tell you, yes, there are side effects from these medicines, and they're awful. And I'll go into more depth on that in another video. But there's also, the consequences that can come from taking these medicines that can resolve and sometimes don't resolve. So by you asking a question, you're really helping me do a better job at doing these videos. So I'm praying that God richly blesses you, even in the midst of your suffering. And remember, you are not alone. God is with you. Cry out to Him, and He will be with you in the fire, just like He's been with me and so many others who suffer from this debilitating and disease, as far as I'm concerned, straight from the pit of hell. So God bless you, and we'll talk soon. And if you like this, please like and subscribe. I guess that's what you do. I'm not like an influencer. I'm not someone who knows how to do this. So you are going to be getting um, it's like the lemonade stand, the homemade lemonade stand out of a U-Haul box out in my front yard. Like that's what we're dealing with here. Not a food truck, not a restaurant, a box with a table cover on it and some homemade lemonade. Country time. Oh gosh. Uh, they didn't give me permission to use their name. Don't come after me, branding lawyers. I'm just going to plead ignorance. God bless you. Take care. Talk soon.